Do you remember the good old days when we used to write letters to each other and wait days for the reply? It was a time that was filled with excitement, with a lot of anticipation and a lot of happiness, as we used to constantly think, what will the other person write? And wait religiously for the postman every morning. Let me take you down memory lane today as I discuss with you the concept of informal letters. By definition, letters are forms of written communication which we write down and we share our views, feelings, ideas, emotions and send it to another person whom we know. Letters historically are the most important and the oldest form of communication, and that is why they are relevant to this very day. They are used for different purposes, and based on those variety of purposes, we have two major types of letters. One is formal letters and the second one is informal letters. Formal letters, as the name suggests, are letters that we write for official purposes in our offices, schools and in our workplace to communicate with people who are either senior to us by age or experience or the people whom we don't know very well. So technically also the format, the language, the emotion, everything is very strict and it is very, very measured and it cannot be changed. On the other hand is the more easier version of the informal letter. Informal letters are usually written to our friends, relatives, parents, siblings and people whom we know very closely. Understand that the difference between a formal letter and the informal letter in terms of purpose is only that informal letter depends on the closeness that we have with that person, irrespective of the age. That is to say, if you write a letter to your grandparents and you can say, "Dear Grandma, dear Grandpa," because it's not about the age but about the close relationship that you share with your grandparents despite the fact that they are elder to you. So the level of familiarity really matters. Moving on to the format. How exactly do you write that letter? Now imagine you have a A4 size sheet in hand. Then remember to have the entire format, whole format, to the left. Okay? You start from the left hand side. So what all do you include? The first thing that you include is the sender's address. That is your address, the person who is writing. So in that you are going to include your entire address, full address with the flat number, society, your PIN code, your city, everything, full address. In 3 lines you will give. After that you will leave 1 line and you will add the date. For instance, you can say 2nd of June 2020, 3rd July 2019, any date that you deem fit. You will put it there after leaving 1 line. Again, the third step is to leave 1 line and go to the salutation. What is the salutation? Salutation is the addressal. Now this is an informal letter and you're writing to someone you know very closely. So you will use dear. And after dear, you can use the first name of that person. If it's your friend, then you can start with the first name of your friend. For example, if I write a letter to a friend known as Pooja, then I can say Dear Pooja or Dear Martha. So you'll use the first name. If you're writing to your siblings, you can even use their pet names. For example, if you call them Chinu out of love, then you can say Dear Chinu. So you have to make it as personal and as emotional and as warm as possible. So you will start by dear, you'll put the first name, And then again, from this next line onwards, you will begin with the letter. You can ask about their health, if they are doing okay, if you miss them. So you give it a very personal, very touching kind of a start. The beginning is very, very important. So you'll give the beginning. Then you go on and you go on to explain why you're writing the letter. For example, if you're writing the letter to invite that person to your birthday, then you will start with a normal conversation in a very chatty language, and then you can go ahead and actually discuss the purpose of the letter, that I wanted to invite you and your family in my birthday party next week. Then you will explain 5, 6, 7 lines you will explain, and then finally again you will close the letter. Closing again is very important. You can say, give my love to their maybe younger sister, to their sibling. So again, give my greetings to uncle and auntie, because this is something that needs to be very, very personal. So you can have a very apt ending to the letter. And finally, you give the closing. In the closing, you can say yours lovingly, or your loving friend, or with love. So something that is very, very personal again. And then finally, you will write your name. Okay. Again, this needs to be very personal. That is why I am reiterating your own name in your first name. Not the full name, not required. That will make it very formal. So you will end with your name. This is the technical aspect. And you try to put in, when you write, you try to put in as many details as you want and make it as discussion oriented, as if you're talking to your friend in a very chatty, conversational kind of language as you can. And you will make it as simple and as friendly as possible. Now, technically, a letter is usually of 3 paragraphs, but at your level, 1 paragraph will also suffice. But in that 1 paragraph also, let me remind you, and I have discussed this previously also, that you need to adhere to the IBC. That is a proper, you will have to give introduction, then you will explain with the body, and then you conclude properly, my greetings, my love to the elders, whatever you will find fit, you will put in there, and you will adhere to whatever the question is saying. This is only explanatory talk, and to better your understanding, to polish your understanding even further, I have also sharing with you a planner. There is attached with this discussion a planner which you will find. In that you will find a detailed explanation about letter writing, the proper format of informal letter, and there's also a practice question which is very interesting, mind you. And I expect that you will do it as soon as possible and share it with me.